It's Friday, August 11th, 2023. I want to start the video out today by thanking Wade. He sent me this American silver piece dollar. Really cool coin here. Let's see if I can zoom this in. Wade, thank you so much. But one thing I want to ask all of you is, Wade wrote me a beautiful letter, sent me this beautiful silver piece dollar. And not to give away his personal business or anything like that, but he's having some medical issues. And I believe in the power of prayer. And I know that many of you who watch these videos also believe in the power of prayer. Now, Wade did not ask me to do this. I hope he doesn't get upset with me. But I want everybody to say a prayer this evening for Wade. He's, again, having some medical issues. I'm sure he's going to be okay. But I believe in the power of prayer just like you. And I want everybody to say a prayer for Wade, that he's going to do fine, that his surgery is going to be successful, and he's going to be 100% healthy. So Wade, thank you so much. I hope you don't mind me asking for everybody to say a prayer for you, but I think it's really, really important. But without further ado, shifting gears, let's talk about what's happening in the world today. Just went through a few articles this Friday afternoon. Fox Business, wholesale inflation accelerates in July for first time in 13 months. It's up 0.3% from the previous month, up 2.4% year over year. This is going to be passed on to you and I. Inflation is not going away. I don't believe any of these inflation numbers to begin with. I think that shadowstats.com is much more accurate, reporting that real inflation is 12.5%. CPI, as most of you know, yesterday rose 0.2% in July, up 3.2% year over year. Again, I think it's much higher. Do you believe that the CPI is 3.2%? Do you believe that corporate CPI is up 2.4% year over year? I don't. Do you believe that unemployment is down to 3.5%? While inflation's rising, home prices elevated, and the Fed continues raising rates. And we just saw 248,000 people last week file first-time jobless claims. But we're being told while we're in this recession, 99% of you realize we're in a recession right now, and we are entering a depression. And while this is happening, people will argue and disagree. No, unemployment's only 3.5%, and people are still buying stuff, so everything must be okay. Do you believe the CPI? Do you believe the core inflation numbers? Do you believe corporate inflation? Do you believe the unemployment numbers? I don't believe any of this. And I guess, you know, what amazes me is I will talk to people who have 4-year degrees, they have their own businesses, they're intelligent people, and they believe all of this. So if you just tell somebody that unemployment's 3.5%. Well, we can't have a recession because unemployment's only 3.5%. So if you manipulate the numbers, I guess you can fool anybody. Just tell them a lie and they'll believe it. But you know as well as I do, because we live in the real world. We don't live in bubbles. We live in the real world, and we're seeing exactly what's going on. Fox Business, real estate experts say challenges to buyers and sellers are the greatest ever. For buyers and sellers, there's a massive struggle being felt to close deals or make any money. What about the agents? What about people in the mortgage industry? What kind of money are they making now when buyers and sellers can't come to a deal? When sellers can't sell homes and buyers can't buy homes, what's going to happen to the mortgage industry as we are watching it literally plunge to the ground at this point? I feel sorry for people who worked in the real estate industry, the mortgage industry, who did not save their money, because you are going to be in a very, very slow sector of the economy for years to come. Bankrate.com today, just to reinforce that, Bankrate.com today is showing a 30-year fixed mortgage at 7.46%. You have people locked into their homes at 3% who refuse to move. But many of those people will be forced to move at some point. You have property insurance soaring. It's getting difficult to get approved for a mortgage at this point. They're going to want better credit. They're going to want more money down. And even then, it's going to be difficult. How about job security? What if you don't have a job? What if you lose your job tomorrow? A lot of people are thinking, should we buy a house right now? Because what if myself or my wife loses a job? We need 2 incomes minimal to do this. And what if we lose a job? There's so much uncertainty out there in the economy. People are pulling back. They don't want to risk it. And of course, you have the smart money sitting on the sidelines that refuses to play this game, where a house that sold back in 2019 for $200,000 now in 2023 is selling for $650,000. People are getting sick of the game. The smart money ain't playing the game. They're going to sit back and they're going to wait, and they're going to wait the sellers out. And the sellers, for the most part, are going to lose here. The hedge, SoCal warehouse slump. This is a very ominous sign right here, maybe an ominous warning for not just what's happening in Southern California right now, but for what is going to be happening across the entire U.S. A potential warning sign for the broader economy. In this article, it says weakening consumer demand for goods and waning inventory growth are causing the warehouse vacancy rate to rise. The Inland Empire has 1 billion square feet of warehouse space. Mark Russo, head of industrial research at Savills, says more warehouse space in the Inland Empire is becoming available than leased. We're seeing a cooling and a normalizing of demand levels in Southern California, particularly in the Inland Empire. Now, if you drive through parts of San Bernardino, parts of Riverside, you will see these gigantic buildings, many of them over 1 million square feet. And I kid you not, some of these buildings are at least minimal a quarter mile wide. I've seen a couple that are even much bigger than that. Wide, I mean, a quarter mile and bigger wide. And it's incredible, the size of these buildings. And what's going to happen if we begin to see the same problem that we're seeing in commercial real estate, office buildings going empty? What happens when the warehouses become empty? Now, many of these warehouses are storing goods from other countries, mainly China. Now, I don't know who owns most of these warehouses. I would not be surprised if it's China. I don't know. Could be American companies. I'm not really sure. Could be a combination. But this is another ominous warning, another ominous sign of what's happening to the U.S. economy, as now we're going to see vacancy rates, not only in office buildings, not only in shopping malls and retailers, but we're going to see vacancy rates skyrocket in these warehouses. And it's another sign that we have an economy on life support. People are not buying as much. They can't afford to buy as much. They don't have the discretionary spending ability. And so we're going to see more problems here. And I cannot even explain to you how many of these warehouses are sitting in Southern California, minutes from my home, literally minutes from my home, all over Riverside County, all over San Bernardino County. These things are ginormous, and they've cost millions and millions of dollars to build. And what happens when they go empty? CNBC, why Americans are struggling with car loans? Well, because they bought too much car, right? And they bought loan to value 130, 140, 150%. If you bought a car in the last year or two, you more than likely probably paid too much. Remember, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? People, not uncommon, pay $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 over the asking price of these vehicles. And some of these imports, more exotic type vehicles, people were paying $100,000 over asking price. More than 100 million Americans have a car loan. Total car debt right now is $1.5 trillion. Average payment of a new car, $725. People overpaid, just like many people overpaid for real estate, homes. They overpaid for cars. And many of these people are going to regret the FOMO, the fear of missing out, that they were bamboozled into. They could not control themselves. They had to overpay for a house, overpay for a car, and now they're going to get themselves into very, very big trouble. And this is why I believe you're going to see a housing crash, why you're going to see the used car lots pile up with cars. There's so many cars, 25 to 30,000 car repos a day. There's so many cars at the auctions, so many cars now beginning to pile up at the used car lots. I don't know what they're going to do with all these cars. And while interest rates are rising and the cost to borrow money is rising, it's going to get more difficult for the average consumer to go and buy a car. So I do believe that prices of these vehicles are going to have to come way down. We are going to see piles and piles of cars on these lots, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you bought a house in the last couple of years, you bought a car in the last couple of years, more than likely you overpaid, and more than likely you're going to regret this decision, unfortunately. This is why, you know, I've said for years, you've got to really be patient. You've got to have self-control. You can't let emotions rule your life either. You can't be buying stuff to impress people you don't know. And that's what so many people have done, so they can go on social media, so they can drive around, pull up to a stop sign and have people look at them in a car that they don't even know. And this is going to cost people. I hope it was worth it. 9 signs. This is Michael Snyder's site, theeconomiccollapse.com. 9 signs the consumer is about to break. We've talked about this many, many times. I'm going to reiterate this. Number 1, after adjusting for inflation, the household income in the U.S. has fallen 9.1% since April 2020. 2, credit card debt has surpassed $1 trillion as struggling Americans turn to credit cards to get by month to month. This is, I'm telling you, this is a new world without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen. I look at the poverty, I look at the homelessness, I look at the desperation of the average American living paycheck to paycheck. That's if you're lucky. Now it's people living credit card to credit card. Credit card average rate over 20% now. 4, credit card delinquency rate has climbed to 7.2%, that in the second quarter of 2023. Number 5, number of Americans that are making emergency withdrawals from their 401ks is surging. It is up 36% year over year. 6, owning a home will cost you 20% more right now this year than it did last year as mortgages continue to soar. Bankrate.com today, a 30-year 7.46%. And you know, we're seeing people right now paying 8.5% plus for a 30-year. I believe that it's very possible that maybe at the end of this year, some point by the end of this year, early next year, there are going to be people that if they buy a house, they're going to be paying over 10% for the 30-year. So if you think prices aren't going to come down, I highly disagree, because nothing is going to sell. But again, how many people are going to be forced to sell, forced to raise capital, forced to get rid of a rental property, forced to get rid of a vacation home, forced to get rid of an Airbnb because they've lost a job, the Airbnbs aren't renting, there's been a change in their life where they have to downsize or they have to move and they're going to be forced to sell for whatever reason. And on top of that, you have all of these new homes under construction right now. And we're going to see, just like the car lots filling up, you're going to see listings coming onto the market, onto the MLS, days on market going to be expanded. These properties are going to sit longer and prices are going to have to come down, or they're just not going to sell. And at some point, the seller is going to have to sell. And just think about, you know, a property that the seller isn't renting out. They have it on Airbnb or it's a short-term rental and it's not renting, and every month they're making a mortgage payment, and they may have 3 rental properties, short-term rentals. And the bills are piling up, and at some point you got to cut bait, and some of these people are just going to have to let it go. And you know, if you or a spouse loses a job and you don't have 2 incomes, you're going to be cutting it loose. And of course, the divorce rate is rising. People get divorced. What's the first thing they do? They sell the house. So we are going to see things, I believe, really, really accelerate here by the end of this summer. Number 7, the nationwide average rent-to-income ratio has been over 30% for the past 2 years. This is the first time this has ever happened. It's never happened before in U.S. history, and now it is happening. And this is a very, very bad sign. Number 8, vehicle repair costs are up 20% from a year ago. And 9, 69% of U.S. consumers living in urban areas live paycheck to paycheck. Nearly 70% of consumers living in urban areas, cities, are living paycheck to paycheck. You know, I was talking to somebody today, and I said, you know, I don't think people really realize how bad this is going to be and how bad it is right now. People right now, I don't believe, have a understanding of how bad it is right now. And unfortunately, they're going to have a serious wake-up call here. And shifting gears into this next article really reinforces what I'm saying, what you've all been saying. This is from Fox Business. Walgreens worker assaulted after intervening in a shoplifting situation. Police in Missouri are asking for people's help in identifying the two suspects. I saw the video of this. It's quite alarming. But again, it's happening every day. We're almost becoming callous to all this violence. But basically, a woman probably in her early to mid-30s is shoplifting at Walgreens. This elderly woman, senior citizen working at Walgreens, confronts her outside of the Walgreens, and the younger woman, 30 to 35, assaults this senior citizen employee of Walgreens, knocking her down and beating her while she's on the ground. And of course, somebody's filming it, but nobody's helping. Isn't that? Think about where we're at today. If someone was assaulting your daughter or your wife or you, they're going to film it with a phone. They're going to watch you be beaten. Nobody is coming to your aid, and this is why it's so imperative that all of you are really learning how to defend yourselves. This is somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother, maybe somebody's wife. This is absolutely shocking to see a 30-some-odd-year-old woman beating a woman who's probably 80 years old, just confronting her for shoplifting, and nobody does anything about it. What would you do if you got knocked down, you were being beaten? Can you survive it? Can you get out of it? Can you fight? Now, if you're 80 years old, probably not. But maybe if you had some skills, you could jump in and at least try to stop this from happening. And nobody did anything. This is where we lived. I mean, think about 50 or 100 years ago. If somebody saw an 80-year-old woman knocked to the ground being beaten, what people would do 100 years ago. I would feel sorry for the suspect here. I really would, because they would not take pity on this person. This person would probably be beaten to a pulp and arrested on the spot, and probably be doing 10 years in prison. But not today. These people are literally rewarded. And it's just shocking to see the decay of society. And you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, nobody is coming to help you. There is no phone that you're going to pick up and call for help. There is typically no bystander who's going to jump in and help you. You are on your own. Your kids are on their own. Your wife is on your own. So you got to really think about a plan here. If you got into a situation, what would you do? Do you have the skill sets to protect yourself? And again, so many people make these videos and they talk about, well, some silver is going to protect you, having some, some bottled water and a supply of water and beans, you're going to be safe. That's completely not true. Before you get the beans and the water and all that stuff, you better have security. You better have defensive skills. You better know how to take care of yourself and your family and everybody in your family at this point. There's no excuse that your kids are not learning how to take care of themselves. There's a bullying epidemic in school, and now we have a crime epidemic throughout America. I would think as a parent that you would feel much safer and you would sleep much better at night knowing that your kids could take care of themselves. Now, here's another one. This comes from the New York Post. Squatters trash multi-million-dollar home in the Hollywood Hills, 11,000 square foot estate. Squatters went in there, they broke the windows, put feces all over the house, they spray painted graffiti all over the house, and one of the walls said, "F rich people." Now, maybe they don't like rich people, okay. LAPD said that this is nothing unusual for Hollywood, and it's probably not, because all throughout California, this is a huge problem of squatters. But what kind of stood out to me is the message, F rich people. Now, what do you consider rich? Maybe because you have a house and a car and you have food and you have a job. Maybe these people consider that rich. Now, nobody was living in this house. It had been sitting vacant for a while. But this concerns me because you're going to have people like this who don't like you because you own a house, you have food, you have a job, you have a life, you have a family. And there are people who have a real disdain for you because you have a nice house or a car or a life. And so as society continues to break down, as the economy continues to break down, you're going to see more of these people. How in the world did these losers even get up into the Hollywood Hills, into this home to begin with? You know, people just think that they're safe because they have walls around their house, or they live in a gated community, or they live, you know, up in the mountains, or they live in a nice neighborhood with a nice zip code, and they have nice houses around them. But it didn't stop these losers from getting to this house and destroying it while the neighbors were freaking out, wondering what in the heck is going on in the house next door. There is going to be a disdain for you because maybe you like this country, maybe you are employed, maybe you have nice things, maybe you're eating 3 meals a day, maybe you can afford to take a vacation, maybe you just respect freedom and capitalism. There's going to be losers like this who don't like you, who want to come to your house and destroy your house. And so just like the 80-year-old lady at Walgreens who got knocked down and beaten, there are people that would love to come to your house, beat you, take everything you have, destroy your house because they just don't like you. So be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. There are some real bad people roaming the streets of America, and we are living in very ominous times, very evil times, with some very evil people walking the face of the earth. And they have no problem destroying your life, your house, everything you worked for, hurting your family. So as I leave you on this beautiful Friday afternoon, take a little bit of time this weekend, say a prayer for Wade, work on preparations, work on skill sets, work on combative skills, defensive skills. Just get better with this stuff. I do believe that the better shape you're in, the more skills you have, the more confidence you have, the better you're going to sleep at night. So, you know, get your finances in shape, get your body in shape, get your skills up to par. You're going to sleep better at night. Nobody's going to walk around here. I will tell you this in closing. I don't walk around in fear. A lot of people think like, oh, you know, this is all fear. It's all doom and gloom, that, you know, I can't sleep at night and, you know, I'm shaking. I've got a very steady hand, no shake. Hour and a half of training today, and I slept like a baby last night, and I will probably sleep like a baby tonight. I'm going to have a nice dinner, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But I'm not going to live in fear. I don't walk around in fear. I'm not panicking. Unfortunately, the people who don't have the skills or the mindset, these are the people who will be walking around in fear. These will be the people who will panic. These will be the people who will be the victims. The bad people know where the victims are. They know how to find the victims. They know the people that don't have the skill sets. More than likely, they're probably not coming to my house. That would probably be a really bad day for them. That's, you know, that's not a threat, but to think, you know, for anybody to think out there that I have not prepared for bad people coming to my house or a bad situation, I've prepared for it quite a bit. So coming to my house would probably be a really, really bad choice. And that's just reality. And anybody coming to your house to do something bad, it should probably be a bad choice for them too. So they need to go somewhere else. Don't come here. Very, very bad choice for those people. Go somewhere else where people don't have the mindset, where people aren't training, where people are just hoping that you don't come to their house, where people just believe nothing bad will happen to them. It's puffy white clouds, teddy bears, and blue skies and rainbows. That's not here. But nobody here is walking around scared or in fear. If you know, if something happens, we're going to deal with it. Unlike other people who are just going to ignore it and try and run, those are the people that are going to be victimized. Those are the people that get victimized typically. So, you know, you have a choice to make. You can be one of two people: prepared, that's one type of people, or the other type of people, unprepared. Take your pick. I'd rather be prepared, financially, spiritually, physically, you name it. I'd rather be prepared every which way I can possibly be prepared. So I'm going to leave it there today. I don't want to rant and rumble on here, but take some time this weekend, be preparing, have a good weekend, enjoy life. We can't stop what's coming, but we can do our best to prepare to protect ourselves and our family. We're not going to live in fear. We're not going to panic. We're going to deal with it. Panic is for the people who are unprepared. We are the prepared, ladies and gentlemen. So again, say a prayer for Wade. Have a great weekend. God bless every one of you. Please like, please share, and please subscribe. God bless.